Alright. Yeah, I know. I'm your dada. We are going live for a little bit this morning, my sweet girl, and we're gonna have some fun. I am gonna do a little bit of a Hassan got banned thing. We're gonna check out that because it goes along with my consistency on Hassan always getting banned. I don't know where my camera is. What? Display. Why is my display captured? Okay. Dude, what is going on with my camera? Okay. Let's delete that. It was there 2 seconds ago, my video capture, and then it was just gone, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I know you're upset. Hold on. This is weird. I've never had this happen. I swear it doesn't happen like this. Okay, yeah, we're here. Whoa, shit. Alright, first things first, I need to pull up, now I gotta pull up my on cap. No, I fucked up. This is where I messed up. Hold on. Hold on. Dude, I got a blanket right there. I just did laundry. Doing laundry. So, there's a little bit of squibbling going on in my life. Always squibbling. We'll move that. We need to go here. We need to go... God, I'm sorry, guys. It was, like, perfectly running, and then as soon as I hit record, dude, it was actually the worst thing that has ever happened. Okay. Yeah. Launch free version. No, we're good. We're good. That's better, boys and girls. That's better. I'm here. I'm clear. I'm here and I'm clear. We're good. I figured it out. I don't know why that happened, what was going on, why it was squibbling my vibe. But we got a few things today. First, we're going to start off with Hasan being banned. Now, I want to have kind of a nuanced take here. Yeah, I'll pick you up. I kind of have a nuanced take here. Now, I don't agree with anything Hasan said. I don't like Hasan. And I do think... Oh, no. Hold on. Oh, God, you pooped. Damn it. Hold on, guys. Damn it. This is not how I wanted the stream to go. God damn it. Everything was going fine. I had a plan. God damn it. Oh, it's leaking out the bottom of the diaper. And then all of a sudden, she started whining. I thought she just wanted to be picked up. Oh, I lost my arm. I'm sorry, Squibbly. I didn't realize. You're doing so good, and I didn't realize you pooped. That's why you got fussy with the dada. Yeah, she didn't make any poop noises. She just been chilling, and then she just did it. She slime attacked me. Sorry, boys and girls. Sorry. Again, worst streamer on the internet. We are always going to be the worst streamer on the internet, and I'm fine with that. I do my best to do my best. I love you all. But here's the thing. I want to get into this. I really want to get into this. Because I've covered Hasan. I've covered Hasan multiple times on this channel. He is not a new person. And I have said for a long time that if Twitch is going to have the rules they have, and Hasan is going to celebrate people getting banned for stuff like Asmongold getting banned, he kind of celebrated that. I do think that it's fair that Hasan gets banned for the things that he said and says and does all the time. I personally, however, feel he has any right to speech. Now, it isn't okay to threaten death or incite violence. I don't think that's okay. And that's exactly what Hasan has done on multiple different occasions, whether it's on his Twitter, his streams, And finally, it looks like Twitch has finally done something about it. Now, again, I think that freedom of speech is super important, and I don't think anybody should be banned for stuff. But if you're going to have the rules, you got to enforce them fairly, and I think that's what's happened here, that Hasan finally got enforced. And we're going to check out a video by Hero High on Hasan finally found out and Trash Taste responds.
So during that whole trash taste thing with Hasan the other week, that whole controversy, a lot of people were saying that they can't believe Hasan hasn't been banned yet over things that he has said on his own stream, and pointing out to how Hasan hasn't been banned as another example of how biased Twitch can be for certain people. And to be fair, this sentiment is one that people have had for quite a long time regarding Hasan and Twitch. Crazy thing happened though today, just a few hours ago. Twitch actually did ban Hasan. Of course, this does just seem to be a temporary ban.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. I don't want Hasan banned off of everything. I think Hasan has every right to speak his nonsense, whether I agree with it or disagree with it. Is he a terrorist sympathizing weirdo? Yes. But at the same time, here's the thing. Like, if he was out there enacting terrorism, that's one thing. But if he's talking about it, that's a different thing. Yeah, is it dangerous? Absolutely. But I think it's like, I don't like Nick Fuentes. I don't think Nick Fuentes says anything of actual value. Same with Hasan. But I think that they both should be allowed to have that freedom of speech. That's what makes this country so great. And I will stand on that side. I might hate everything Hasan says and say that he is a brain rot douchebag. But I do believe he has a right to freedom of speech.
People speculating that it'll probably be for like a week or so. The general consensus seems to be that the ban has occurred over comments he made about Senator Rick Scott. For example, we can see in this exchange a user saying, very likely over his remark about Rick Scott, lean into incitement of violence. Someone asks, what was the remark? And then we can see the full quote right here in the highlighted area on the bottom tweet. Hasan issuing this statement, which in part reads, big shout out to the right-wing free speech lovers who took time out of their day screaming about DEI and immigrants to cry about this.
And here's the thing. I honestly will stand on the ground that I don't think he should have been banned. Because I don't think anybody should be banned unless they do something that is actually illegal. Now, this could be considered like if somebody actually took action against Rick Scott, they could be tied back to him. So this could be considered illegal because it's incitement to violence. So there is a point behind that. But at the same time, on all of the other things Hasan has said, right? On all of the stupid, like, extremist stuff he has said, I don't think he should be banned for that. And I will 100% stand by that. I think that is the right way to look at this, because it doesn't matter who I'm looking at. I think even if I disagree with them, they should be allowed to talk. And that's a more nuanced take than a lot of people. But here's the thing. Hasan celebrates other people getting shut down, and then he decides to make it a thing about right-wingers when he gets banned. It's like the hypocrisy is just palpable.
We can see some people defending Hasan. For example, this comment that reads, that whole thing is so lame at this point. Love how instead of banning real problematic people, they focus their efforts on people like you.
And see, people like that are absolute dumbasses. It's like, oh, we should ban anybody that disagrees with us. And see, there's a big sentiment around that on Twitch, and that's where I have a problem, because Twitch doesn't usually use their policies equally. They ban a lot of people that disagree with like the sentiments of somebody like Hasan. They banned the entire country of Israel, and if that doesn't show just an insane bias and it's disgusting, I don't know what does. I think this is where the problem lies. If you're going to have a platform, yeah, and you're going to have all these really strenuous rules like Twitch does, you should enforce them equally. That is just fair. I want to also urge that I don't think Twitch should have these stringent rules. I don't think they should. If they get protections from 230, they should have to be a more free speech platform, or you just say no political we're not a political thing. We are a gaming thing. We don't want any cussing. We don't want any politics, because this is for kids. This is a kid-friendly platform. And then I think that they would get a lot more rights on that, because it's not a free speech platform anymore. It's not used. It wouldn't be used by any of these people, any of these gooners. So I think that there is a conversation to be had there. But at the end of the day, I don't think you should be banned for freedom of speech. I do think it is gross what he said though. It was fucking like no anybody who's out here talking that, oh well, I don't like this guy, so they should kill him. You're a loser. You're an absolute loser. I don't care if you like the politician or not. That doesn't mean that you should be out there like telling people to kill the guy.
However, other comments mock Hasan. For example, this one that reads, Twitch banned you, LMAO. Twitch owners are not right-wing free speech lovers. On top of that, we've actually got an update on the whole Trash Taste thing too. Connor from Trash Taste issuing a quite long-winded statement about the whole thing, including that they're probably never going to have Hasan back on their show, and the comments are filled with duality. For example, this is the top comment, and you'll see the first two responses already have some disagreements, and then I'll play a portion of the clip as mentioned. So we've got this comment that says, sorry Connor, but this ain't it. You guys all playing like you didn't know what Hasan was after already having him on your podcast once is kind of a big yikes. I hope this is a lesson for y'all to maybe stop pretending politics is easily ignored when it is literally the driving force behind every aspect of everyone's lives, dictating everything in it. It's the entire reason you are allowed to move away from your home countries and live in another.
Nope. Okay, we're going to take a step back. Hasan doesn't realize he's part of an elite group that Luigi is against. Absolutely. And here's the thing. If we're gonna talk, chat just brought up the Luigi thing. I'm gonna have a nuanced take here. Not even nuanced. Luigi is a bad person. He is a bad person. Luigi Mongiani is a bad dude. Some of the jokes, pretty funny. But at the end of the day, he's not a great guy. I mean, anybody who just goes and shoots somebody in the middle of the street, not always the best guy. Not always the best guy. It's like, here's also the thought on it. You might not like the CEO of that healthcare thing, which I don't like him. I didn't like him. He seemed like a scumbag. But at the end of the day, he was doing his job the way he saw fit. Even if it was the most awful way to do his job, he was doing a job. And he got shot for that. Now, I think that there needs to be some restructuring and some absolute, like, what they should do is basically get a bunch of badass gooners, right? A bunch of, like, type people, and then we into office and make some radical changes on at least the healthcare system. Now, my opinion, my position on, like, social healthcare is different, and I think that by like like if we went to like a Canadian system, it would be bad. I just like anytime I've talked to anybody who talks about the Canadian healthcare system, it's just atrocious. So I think that there needs to be a way to figure out how like take the good things that we've done in this country, look at like some of the good things that other countries done, and find a middle zone. I think we need to find a middle zone, and I think that's where the big disparagement here is. There's a lot of romanticizing what some of these other countries do without looking at the pitfalls of it, and then there's the other side that just refuses to make any changes whatsoever, even though we have a lot of corruption in the system. I read that Medicaid is getting cuts. It's getting cuts. It's getting some personnel cuts, and they're cutting. From what I read, they're cutting like. If you actually look at what they cut, they're not cutting anything that has to do with Medicaid. They're cutting like people that are like a gajillion years old. That's what I read. Now, I might be a little bit misinformed on it, but there's also a ton of misinformation out there. So when I do research on a topic, right? When I do research on a topic, what I do is I'll read the article, I'll look at who it's from. Like, let's say it's from MSNBC. Okay, I know that MSNBC has a very left-wing bias. I will then go and find, like, something by Fox or something. I will read that. And then I will kind of try to figure out where in the middle we're at. I'll go find a third or fourth resource. I never take one article, I never take one little snippet of something and call that my research of it and then let that form my opinion. I try to find as many different things to support as many different opinions as I possibly can, and then use my own to get my actually informed opinion. Like, let's say a good example is the Zelensky Trump thing. Now, when I first cutting people that work for Medicaid or that have it, Okay, so no. When I'm talking old people on Medicaid, what I saw was they were like 150-year-old people, dude. There was like 3 million people that were on Medicaid that were like 300 years old or something like that. Now, again, I just like that's wild. And I think that there needs to be oversight because I think there's a lot of people scamming the system, and all that people that scamming the system do is make it harder for people that are actually needing the system to be in place for them, harder for it to work for them. And I think that there needs to be oversight on that. Like here's and what you and like let's say you have 10,000 workers for Medicaid, right? You're paying all of them. Only about 5,000 of them are necessary to run Medicaid. The other 5,000 are taking money that could be going to people that are actually like hurting the country in and of itself for costs. That's where it becomes more of a nuanced issue, and it's not just, oh well, they're cutting people from Medicaid, they're cutting Medicaid. So there, like, you could take, oh well, they're cutting these people from Medicaid because it's going to save the country money, and we're not messing with Medicaid. There's one position on that argument. Another position is they look at it cutting people from Medicaid. They write the title of the article as Medicaid's getting cut it, or Medicaid's getting cut. You should be worried, and then you're getting fear mongered. So I think at the same time you should look at multiple different sources, and yeah, and that's what I'm saying. People who scam Medicare should have that oversight, and they should be looked into. And when stuff does get looked into, I don't think we should instantly go to this is bad. And yeah, and Hasan was banned temporarily. And I think there's always a nuanced take, and it's back to the Luigi thing. What I was gonna say on Luigi is it's like, I understand somebody feeling like they get pushed too far, but at the same time, it's not like we start saying people like Luigi are okay. Well, all of a sudden there can be like other people that don't have as nuanced of a situation as Luigi, and now politicians are dying. Now store or landlords are getting killed because they decide that all landlords are bad. And I mean, this is something that Hasan has said, that like they should kill landlords because of their evil capitalist blood. And this is where I can look at somebody and say, yeah, the medical system needs to be reset, but I don't think violence is the option. I'm going to stand against violence. Like, it's not like the CEO took a gun out and went and shot somebody's family, and this guy's getting revenge for that. I mean, it's still taking justice into your own hands, which is still kind of a gray area. But like, if the dude shot his family, I would be like, yeah, it's a little different. But at the same time, it's like we're just targeting like leaders of companies because you don't like it. And you know what that does? You know, all that does is, one, it emboldens society to be one part of society to be against people like Luigi, and it doesn't show the company to make any changes. What they do is they just hire a new guy who is going to make the money as well, and no changes get made. The violence like that never proves the point that it's actually supposed to prove. It just emboldens the companies. I don't see it in any other way. If I was the company, I'd be like, wow, dude, this fucking sucks, but where's my bottom line? That's what the board is going to be thinking. That's what all the people who have invested in the company are going to be thinking. Okay, is this going to hurt the company? Okay, it didn't. So how do we move on and keep making money? And nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. It's just the violence never does anything. What actually does something is like if you have like actual like good protests, or you actually show the horrors of it. Like if you go out there and you make like an actual documentary, long breakdown, do an investigation, release it out there to the world, you will get more people on your side who will watch that and be like, wow, dude, look at these scumbags being scumbags. And you will get more information out in the world, and that's how you make a change, not just going out and shooting a guy.
Other country, someone somewhere at some point in time fought for that right you have now. And then we can see, as mentioned, duality in the immediate responses. For example, this one saying very true, but the next one reading, it wasn't even over politics, It was also about platforming someone who says horrible stuff that normal people are just appalled by.
And I hate this. You can platform whoever you want. Now, here's where the issue kind of comes with the nuance of the situation. Trash Taste the people on Trash Taste have made it apparent over a billion times that they don't want to be political. They don't want to have anybody that's controversial, and yet they keep having Hasan on. And it just goes as like a stark contrast to their opinions on having different people on. Like, I think that they refuse to have people like Nuxenor on. They've refused to have other people kind of on the same thing where they're like, oh, well, you're a bit controversial and we don't want to hurt our image, which is fair. That's fair to have. But then to have somebody like Hasan on and pretend that he's not a monster, that's where it's different. That's where the hypocrisy comes, and that's where I'm here. I love the hypocrisy. I love the chaos. I love watching all these gooners be gooners. And it's one of those things that I love this part of it. I don't care about the political side of it. And this idea that everything's political is bullshit, dude. I go through my life, and most of this stuff, even though I do get a little political and some of my opinions get put out in the world, I'm mostly here to watch downfalls. I'm mostly here to watch the drama and the chaos of it all unfold. I'm not really the political guy. I'm well informed enough to go through my day to day and make my own opinions on stuff, but I just like to watch people crash and burn. But I hate this, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to platform certain people. I had no problem with Hasan having that Houthi pirate on his stream. Where I had the problem is he talked about how much of a journalist he was and then asked the motherfucker about One Piece. Like, dude, the One Piece is real. How did you like taking those captains hostage? I'm like, I don't remember Luffy taking captains hostage, you weird fuck. That's not journalism. That's where I have the issues. It's like where I talk about Hasan rightfully being banned. It's not because I think that he should have been banned because I stand for free speech. It's because I think that if you're going to enforce your policies, you should enforce them equally.
So I think, first of all, I think from our podcast perspective and from our perspective, if it is fair to say that if we don't engage in politics publicly, because it's just a mess. None of us live in the US. None of us are in any of these kind of intense political situations. I think it is also fair to say that, why would we bring someone political on? Which I think is a very fair and extremely very fair criticism of us to do, which I agree with. Second of all, the thing that was also very frustrating is that no matter what people were saying, there was a lot of brigading on a lot of sides, and I think that two things can be true at once. There were Trash Taste fans who are unhappy, and there also was brigading happening, which is also very frustrating to deal with, because then it's like, okay, now
but here's the thing, like, literally, if you're gonna be upset and brigading on both sides, he did say that it's one of those things that you have somebody so contentious that's going to get a mass angry response on. I mean, if I started a podcast and I said that I just want to talk about comic books, I want to talk about video games, and then the first person I have on is Nick Fuentes, I'm going to get, I had an extremist on, so I'm going to get an extreme response. And the fact that people don't look at Hasan as an extremist is the problems why these arise, is because societally and by the internet standards for however long, they have not seen people like Hasan as extremists. They see him as just a normal political commentator, when that's not what he is. He is the Nick Fuentes of the left, and when you have somebody on that's extreme like that, you will be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that you get such an extreme response.
We can't actually listen to any criticism on the episode because both sides are jumping in, right? And I even told Hasan, I was like, hey man, can you not? Like, it's bad enough that one side is doing this. Please don't bring up the episode and be like, hey, send people.
But that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. He did that. He sent people. He and then Hasan's fan base is weaponized enough that you literally can. I will repost this as a video, and I will have Hasan fans getting mad at me, even though I've had a nuanced take where I've said that he shouldn't be banned. And I have like actual positions to where at a certain point I'm being kind of very nice towards Hasan in this whole breakdown, even though I vehemently do not like Hasan. He is my least favorite person on the internet. And then I can say, but I also can say that I can stand for his right to talk about the opinions he has, even though I vehemently disagree with them. What's funny though is his audience, even though I will say that, will come and attack me as hard as they can. Even if this video only hits like 500 views, I will have 10 comments of Hasan fans that saw the thumbnail and got really, really mad, and then they will just consistently be annoying. I mean, if anybody's on my Discord, they have seen every time I post a Hasan video, they show up in my Discord and are very mad with me. And it's like, dude, you need to broaden your horizons and look at other directions and try to see that maybe you're a little entrenched, maybe you're a little captured by a community, and you shouldn't let that happen to you. You should have a well-rounded opinion. You should go and check out these other communities, see what's going on there, see what's going on over here, see what's going on over here, and see all the different sides of the coin. If you're just looking at one side of the coin, you're going to go crazy at one point.
I was like, just be above this, don't do this.
He is, of course, referring to how Hasan had brigaded, asked his community to, brigade the comment section or something. You know what? I'll just play that clip again. It'll make things easier.
Too bad. I get irritated from just seeing his face. The guy has said so many profoundly idiotic things that I honestly cannot listen to a word from him. The brigade is on, folks. Get in and actively counter the brigade.
This was also, of course, comedic because it was like Hasan couldn't fathom that there are people who genuinely don't like him, who are trash taste viewers. It's like, oh no, if any trash taste viewers dislike Hasan, this has to be disingenuous. It's got to be some kind of brigade or something. And there were also people in his chat saying that all the hate was just bots and, stuff like that.
If people who are...
Well, and I think we're also getting to a point where a lot of people are, because I think the internet's kind of opening it back up again, I think it's starting to become I'm starting to see, that's one of the reasons why after this I'm going to react to some of the whitest kids you know skits, is just because of the fact that I started seeing some of these old edgy skits pop up on YouTube. I'm starting to see stuff that I haven't seen in 10 years. And it's almost like these algorithms are opening up again and not pointed at a certain direction, not pointed and trying to appeal to a certain demographic. They're just like, all right, we're just gonna let the algorithm do whatever the fuck the algorithm wants again and have fun. And I think that now that people are starting to feel like they're not afraid on the internet anymore, they're starting to branch out. And when you start branching out, you're gonna start to see that some of these people that you've been watching are absolute dipshits. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, again, I used to watch Steven Crowder back in the day, and I fucking will full-heartedly admit that when I was watching him, I used to vehemently think that whatever he was saying was just actually just 100% correct. And then I branched out a little bit, found out that I was a little bit captured by certain thoughts and certain perspectives, and I started finding out that sometimes he's just an absolute dipshit and gooner, and not everything he says is correct, and sometimes he's an absolute asshole. And I think that once you start realizing that, you then get more grounded as a person, and you start to realize, well, maybe I shouldn't let one person's opinion move me that much. Maybe I should make my own informed decisions.
Have very extreme beliefs, want to go crazy. I can't stop them. They can do whatever they want. But you hope that at least, another side wouldn't do that as well.
Dude, people still thinking about the Luffy take. It's a terrible fucking take. You had a Houthi pirate on, and I just read that thing, and the Hasan fans will take something, right? They'll take something he said that is actually atrocious, take it into the simplest aspect of it, and then make it act like you're the one who's losing your mind, like you're the crazy person. It's like, dude, he said he was a journalist and then glazed the fuck out of the guy while he was talking about taking people hostage. That's fucking weird, dude. What the fuck are we talking about here? What's going on? Why am I the crazy person? No, you're not crazy. You're normal. If you saw that after he talked about being a fucking journalist, and then he did that shit as the most unjournalistic glaze session. If he could have sucked that dude's wiener, he would have sucked that dude's wiener. And then over the next months to year, he just consistently, every time that dude would do something that was atrocious, like talking about putting Jewish people on pikes, he would then act like, oh, random Yemeni teenager did this. It's like, dude, you're literally gaslighting your own audience to try to make yourself look better so you don't get made fun of. It's just so disingenuous. I don't understand how anybody can see him as other than a disingenuous lying piece of junk.
I told him, I was like, hey, please don't do that. And he was like, yeah, man, okay, my bad. But I think as well, I told Hasan as well, I was like, hey, look, the show is not political. We don't want to deal with politics. We're most likely not going to have you on again.
So yeah, those are the brief updates, and I'll link Connor's full video in the description. Once again, it's like 17 minutes long, so consider checking out his full take if you'd like, as the portion I played certainly doesn't reflect everything he said. And let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. If you enjoyed the coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. Have a great week ahead, and I'll see you in the next one.
And here's the thing. Last thing I'll put at the end here. I think that it got to the point where Twitch had to make a statement. They had to make a statement because they were getting so much backlash, and they were having like advertisers pull out. They've been having a rough year, and a lot of it is revolving around the stuff that Hasan says and does. And if you're going to have the stringent policies to where you're going to ban people for certain radical takes, it makes 100% sense that you're going to move away from somebody like Hasan, and you need to make a statement at some point. So I think they were just waiting for Hasan's next big crash out, and this was it. This was his next big crash out, like literally talking about murdering a U.S. senator. That, and how, like, oh well, and what this argument's gonna be boiled down to? Oh well, you just want to protect him because he did some bad stuff in the past. It doesn't matter how bad of a person he is. Like, okay, that's not the correct take. It does, like, if he's like atrocious and he like goes out there and like fucking shoots puppies with a silenced machine gun and it gets hit, it's like, that's gross and stuff. But it's like, okay, he did fraud. That should be bad. He should go to jail for fraud. But that doesn't mean you get on your platform and incite violence. Like, oh, we should have him killed. And then later try to, because the whole clip in context, he actually then defends it again. And later, like the next day, he's like, oh yeah, people are taking it out of context. What I meant is he deserved the death penalty. That is not what you said. That is not what you said in context. And now you're gaslighting your audience into believing you said something different, which he does every single time he has a bad take. He gaslights his audience into believing something differently, and that's my problem. If you can't take a step back, look at what he's saying and say, that's not what you said. That's not what you said at all. Now let me go back and rewatch it in context. Okay, wow, it seems a little different. Instead of just being like, yeah, Daddy Hasan, that's so good. I remember you saying that when you never said that at all. And that's kind of the problem with Hasan and his audience. And by being emboldened by Twitch for so long, acting like he hasn't said anything wrong, and then them singing him happy birthday and literally condoning everything he does, to the point where they're having Arab tier lists in front of like at TwitchCon on their advertiser stage. There is going to see that there's a heavy bias at Twitch, and it's like disgusting. I think that the best course of action wouldn't be to ban people. On Twitch. The best course of action, and what I've always believed, that no matter what opinions people have, if you can get in the position where you have multiple different opinions from multiple different sides, you will find that your audience will then check out other people if they're popular. They will say, oh, I hate this guy, I'm gonna go make fun of him in his chat. But then they start listening to him, and he does make some good points, he makes some valid points, and then they will go back to their previous guy and they're like, I'm starting to see the problems that this other guy brought up. And the best way to combat misinformation and disinformation is by having somebody who's out there talking about the correct information. And even though there's going to be misinformation and disinformation on both sides, the fact that there is the platforms not vehemently taking down certain opinions is going to provide the viewer, your regular consumer, with a more well-rounded opinion. I think that that's the better way to go than just banning people because you don't like what they're saying. And I might get flack from that, but I don't care. I think that's the more grounded take. Even though I think Hasan is a disgusting individual who puts terrorist propaganda on his streams, who constantly is threatening legal or political figures, because this isn't the first time. He has done it multiple times in the past. It's one of those things that I think that to an extent he is fine in everything he says. And now if somebody goes and actually hurts Rick Scott, I think that he could be pulled in on some legal legal things. Like if they found out he was a Hasan fan and then that clip came up, I think that can be admissible in court. Now, if you're a lawyer, let me know in the comments below. But as far as I know, for what he said, I don't think that it's legally accountable 100%, but it might be. So you'll have to let me know. Again, there are certain things you cannot say. Like one, for example, is like you cannot go out and say I'm going to end the president of the United States, because that is like an incitement on the president. And like there is certain speech you cannot say. Like you can't go out and talk about how you're going to end the president of the United States, because that is illegal. That is illegal, because that is one of the few things out there that is like a big no-no. And even when people are like, well, you can't say bomb or say fire in a movie theater, you can. You definitely can. There is no actual law against that. It is a huge misconception. But that's all I got for you guys today. That's all, the whole thing I got on Hasan. I think that maybe this will be like a wake-up call for him. I honestly just wish that Twitch would have never gotten so ban happy to embolden people like him. I think if Twitch would have never gone down this weird road of banning anybody that had too wild the takes on the right, there would have been more of a balance, and I don't think he would have felt like he could be as emboldened behind his words. But that's all I got for that. Now, I recently have been seeing a lot of old clips pop up on the internet, and I'm very happy to see it. Not gonna lie, I'm very happy to see it. I was so happy when I got this recommended on my feed. The Whitest Kids You Know were one of my favorite skit groups growing up. I thought they were the funniest people ever. God, I loved the Whitest Kids You Know. They were so funny. And so I knew I had to watch this on stream. I knew I had to jump into the chaos. This is the CIA introducing introducing crack into the ghetto, circa 1984, colorized. I'm so excited. Let's get into this. Bro, the fucking clocks, and it's not even like a cool clock. It looks like the type of clock that you would have in your elementary school. You know, the colored ones that were just all bright colors. They're like, oh, look, we're in school. Look, it's right next to the coloring crayons.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, homies?
Hello, brother.
Never seen y'all before. You new to the hood?
Yeah, we're from a ghetto in a different city.
Oh, y'all from DC?
What?
Got a skins hat on. DC.
Oh! Yeah.
We're not the CIA. You're in the CIA. I mean, yeah, dude, I like football.
Oh. Yeah, we're from a ghetto in D.C. Yes. But not like the CIA or anything.
Dude, anytime I hear people say, like, they're like, oh, the CIA didn't do this, I'm like, dude, the CIA literally covered this shit up when Clinton was the governor of Arkansas. They were covering up like kids' murders because it had ties to this stuff.
Man, I am just really stressed out lately. Just really, really tense. Dude, you should try some of this crack. That's a great idea. Some crack would really hit the spot right now.
What y'all talking about?
Oh, it's just this new and expensive.
I can't watch this. I just found out that this is, oh. I can't watch this. I can't watch this
Expensive way.
because of I'm getting a content claim. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense why I can't watch it. Understandable. Did it take my whole stream down? Okay, it didn't take my stream down. I just can't watch it. I can't watch that, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad. It was funny. It was funny. I wish I could have kept watching it. Some of this I know that under fair use I would have been okay, but under like these corporate overlords of douchebags, I am not allowed to watch it, which is big sad. Big sad. I love the whitest kids, you know. I'm happy to see that they're back. They're back getting recommended to me, but it does suck. It does suck. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I guess we're going to watch this other thing that I wanted to watch. It's called Faust, a better version of Spawn, but I'm gonna get some water. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I wish there would be a logo on stuff. Like when you'd click on something, I wish there was like a pop-up that would hit if you were streaming, because YouTube knows you're streaming, right? I'm streaming on the same platform that I'm watching this stuff. I wish YouTube would hit a pop-up right away that's on like the screen, that says, hey, you can't watch this. I mean, they do hit it on, I do get a notification through OBS and on my like creator hub, but I wish that like when I'm on the YouTube that I'm watching the YouTube on, it's like, hey, you're streaming, you might not want to play this. Because like even consoles when you go to like capture footage and stuff, it's like, we can't let you capture it because of content, whatever. If it like told me that, or it put like a little click away bar that said, listen, you will get caught, if you try to stream this, you will get copyright claimed or whatever. I think that would be a much more fair way to go. But I saw this pop up my feed. I like superheroes. I like comic books. I've always been like really into Spawn when I was a kid. I loved Spawn. I even liked the Spawn movie that a lot of people say is bad. I know it's not great, but John Leguizamo killed it. Michael J. White was good in the role. And I saw Faust, a better version of Spawn, and I have to know. This is made by Strange Brain Parts, which is a great channel name. And let's get into it. I mean, tell me that's not the sickest comic book cover. And look how caked up he is. He's even got like those cottage cheese butt cheeks. That's weird. And why does he have like 800 abs? I don't know, but it looks really cool.
Hello and welcome. Faust, written by David Quinn and illustrated by Tim Vigil, is a 15-issue series that is notorious for its depictions of graphic violence and sex, usually at the same time. Despite being a short series, it took
graphic violence and sex. Let's go, baby. That usually means it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, not going to lie.
a few decades to reach the ending. It began in 1988, and the final installment wasn't published until 2012. So it took 25 years to produce, with major gaps between issues. During the gaps, a number of related miniseries...
I know I'm pausing again, and people hate when I do this, but I think the biggest problem with American comic books compared to like manga over in the East is the fact that a lot of them don't end. They're like, oh, well, this character's popular, so let's spin it off into another universe. Let's just keep it all going forever, infinite, just keep pumping him out as hard as we can. We're just gonna keep tugging and pugging, We're DSPing on the camera, right? And it kind of sucks because you don't get these like wildly incredible, like you get some incredible stories out of it, but they get kind of memory hold and shoved out in the past. I mean, it's so many times where I'll go to play like a new superhero game, not have any idea what's going on because it's not really based off of any of the comic books because it's so hard to base. They'll base some stuff off the comic books in some regards, but at the same time, like when you're working with Spider-Man, there's like 572 Spider-Man. How do you like break it down to an actual comic book unless you say this is the comic book series I'm going off of and you go off of it? The problem with this stuff so often is they just try to keep these IPs going for as long as possible in the US. And I like when they decide we're going to make a story, we're going to do it from beginning to end, and I love when they do that. It's one of the reasons why I'm so Hellboy has such an appeal to me. And stuff like this is now more interesting to me because it's like I want to write a good story, I want to do it the best way possible, and this is going to have an end, motherfucker.
Series were produced. However, the focus of this video is on the main series, Faust. To begin with, Faust is not an easy read. Personally, the splatterpunk genre and overly detailed, gory images are outside my area of interest. A topic like this is also exceptionally difficult to cover on this platform. Images have to be selected very carefully to avoid repercussions. This needs to be mentioned because what you see doesn't reflect the graphic totality of the comic. Regardless, despite the challenges, its notoriety is worth an examination. After all, it's safe to say many people have heard about Faust and have seen it over the years.
I haven't. This is my first time hearing about this. I'm very excited.
But a casual glance at an issue doesn't help with the lingering question concerning whether it deserves its reputation. The quick, simple answer is yes, its reputation is well deserved. Furthermore, I would suggest that creators leaned into the elements that made it so controversial, quite possibly as a response to the reaction the original issues received. According to the artist, Tim Vigil, the idea for Faust grew out of his prior series, Grips. Grips also involved a costume vigilante with a long forearm claw who sliced and diced. Conceptually, the two are quite different, but the similarity in design and Vigil's interest in graphic violence carried over to Faust. So Grips is like a rough first draft of the lead character in Faust.
And this is something you see creatively a lot in like the manga creators, is they will create like a first stuff that's like a proof of concept that then leads into their kind of magnum opus that becomes like their mainstay. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Like the person who made Spy X Family or Spy Family or whatever it's called, he doesn't really love Spy Family and he's more passionate about some of his other projects. But it's a lot of times it's the other way around, where they make a couple shorter creations and then they make their like grand creation, or they'll have one that does pop off and they will then go down and create better character elements to then shoot it up in the stratosphere. Like one that comes to mind is the guy who did Soul Eater. He made Soul Eater, and one of the big problems was that not a lot of the characters were well rounded enough, and I feel like he fixed a lot of those problems when it comes to Fire Force. I think the Fire Force characters are a lot stronger than Soul Eaters. And you can see some of the mistakes that he felt he personally made and then he fixes later. And that's the great part of the things then ending, is you can go spin off to something else. And I know Fire Force leads into Soul Eater, but it's about how do you take your thing, and then if you're going to add more to it, how do you just make sure to respect the original story and add on to it instead of just like retconning it. And that's such a big problem in the comic industry today.
The only other similarity is both are vigilantes, but they have completely different agendas. Of course, with any character displaying four-armed claws, it's hard not to think of the popular Marvel property Wolverine, or for that matter, the horror movie icon Freddy Krueger. However, like with Grips, the similarity is purely visual. Conceptually, they are miles apart. Finally, there's Todd McFarlane's creation, Spawn. While reading Faust, it's difficult not to notice some connections between it and Spawn. Both characters are hired assassins who wind up terminated because they questioned authority. Both return from the dead due to having made a deal with the devil. The slight difference being, Spawn makes the deal in the afterworld. John Jaspers makes the deal, the Faustian pact the title of the comic refers to, when alive. Once returned, both obsess over the women they love. This leads to a discovery concerning their mysterious origin and a quest to get revenge.
By the way, I love Spawn. Spawn is one of my favorite comic books ever made. I own a few of them. I've read quite a bit of Spawn. I haven't read all of Spawn, but I really like Spawn. The one big problem I would say with Spawn is Todd McFarlane loves his dialogue, and it's something that it's like you will have entire pages of just smally written dialogue where it over explains everything. And that's where it gets a little annoying, but other than that, I think Spawn does such an incredible job of creating a world, a story, well-versed characters. It's just so good.
Now, for the record, I'm not suggesting Spawn is a direct, toned-down version of Faust. What I am saying is their origins have elements that are very, very similar. That's all. However, a disturbed individual returning from the grave to get revenge isn't exactly a unique theme. So these connections could simply be a coincidence.
Yeah, the Crow is iconic in this regard. It's kind of sad that we've only gotten one decent Crow movie, because like the first Crow movie is fun, it's good. I guess it's not really that close to the comics, but it's a good movie in general. And that's kind of like Hellboy. Hellboy's not close to the comics at all, but it's still a good movie. But since then, we've gotten like 87 Crow movies, and that's the only decent one.
incidents. After all, McFarlane allegedly created Spawn as early as 1977. At least, he drew the character around that time. Whether or not the details of his origin existed is another matter entirely. And, from what I could determine, McFarlane has never acknowledged Faust, so whether it was an influence or not is in the realm of speculation. The story of Faust revolves around John Jaspers, an artist and a hitman who was employed by the mysterious figure known as M. As a hitman, Jaspers had too much of an independent spirit for M, so he was murdered and buried with his equipment. Jaspers then arose from the grave, confused and seeking revenge. Although due to his memory loss and insanity, he was unsure who he needed to destroy. He begins by protecting Jade, his former psychologist and lover, who he feels a deep connection to, despite his scrambled memories. Essentially, he's an engine of madness and destruction, looking for a place to happen. There's a variety of supporting characters, all of whom engage in some...
I love this art style. I love the art style. And another thing, he said something about group brutality and like sexual content and violence. I think that if it's done right, I think that you can highlight, or you can enhance a story by showing brutality and violence and a graphic nature sexually. One great example that comes to mind is Berserk. I don't think Berserk's Golden Age arc wouldn't have been as powerful. Like, if you removed the horrible part of the ending there and just showed like a bunch of violence, I don't think it would have had the impact it had other than showing the what Griffith did to that girl. It is something about how powerful that moment is and how destructive all that is to then breaking her, to breaking guts, that you see how much of an impact it had, and it has more of a hold over you, so it means it's way more powerful. Now, I've never read this, so I don't know if it utilizes it in the same regard, but I see through Berserk and what I've read of Berserk that I can soundly say that every single time that there is like overly sexual content or overly violent, it all has a point to lead to a bigger narrative, and that is brilliant, and I don't think that they could have done it any other way.
Other questionable, disturbing activities. These dirty deeds done dirt cheap are orchestrated by M, who gains power from these deviant acts. As it's discovered, M is Lucifer, or Mephisto, the first of the fallen, and his ultimate goal is to end all of creation. Perhaps the only reason this comic gained attention was due to the detailed artwork by Tim Vigil. It's highly
I mean, this is sick, dude. This is sick. Just look at this real quick, dude. Oh my god, look at the details. Look at this is so good. This is so freaking good, dude. I'm like jizzing in my pants here, dude. I'm in love with this. Like each little segment that you're looking at here is just so brilliantly made.
Stylized, with a Bernie Wrightson flavor and some great use of tone for shading. There's no doubt that Vigil put a lot of work into each page, giving every image a certain level of grotesque beauty. He's certainly a
And this is something I respect so heavily of the 80s and 90s comics, is I feel like a lot of comics that when I started teetering off comics in the 2000s, because like I read them in the early 2000s, and then like 2010s I just started doing other shit like playing sports and stuff, and now I'm kind of getting more akin to liking this stuff again. And well, also we got superhero movies and all that, but I started to notice that in terms of quality it was dipping, and it was just kind of like putting a story out that was okay, and it was like minimal details, and I wasn't seeing that over the top nature that is what, when I go and get like some of these old comic books that I would read a lot of stuff like God, I can't even remember his name. No. Oh God, he was Marvel's version of Cyclops. I can't remember his Deathlock. I read Deathlock, and just the detail in Deathlock's panels and all of like the over the top character designs was something that I really loved. And it's like where I can look at X-Men the animated series and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want. But then I look at some of the superhero shows now and I'm like, it just doesn't have the same appeal, because it's not that it's not the art style that I fell in love with. It's not this like visceral effect that I got. It's not this great grand thing. It's just another show. It's just like it could be replaced with anything else, and it doesn't really have any artistic thing that makes it stand out other than the characters wearing the same costume. And that's what I miss about the U.S. style comic books was at one time they were so you could look at a comic book like yes I can see, even though there was differences in design and there was obviously different artists working on things, it still had a grounded similar design, and now it's just all over the fucking place and half of it is trash.
Master of horror artwork. Early in the series, Vigil is still developing. The brutal action does have a certain flow, but character faces are somewhat inconsistent. Claire or Jade, for example, look a bit awkward from page to page. It gives the impression that Vigil put little effort in talking scenes and was strictly interested in getting to the action, which, to be fair, is likely what the audience preferred as well. Over time, Vigil does become more consistent, but in my opinion, scenes that don't involve sex and violence were given less attention. They really give off a perfunctory vibe. Despite that, on a purely visual and visceral level, the artwork is quite successful. It's the main attraction of the series.
I mean, you can look at every single inch of the things that were getting scrolled here on screen and understand why people were drawn to this. This is just fucking gorgeous. This is just gorgeous, dude.
The writing itself is overwrought, and at many points, highly pretentious. It certainly has an outsider, angry at the world vibe to it. However, the various characters and their characterizations are both stereotypical and flat, which fits into the overall tendency to avoid any level of subtlety. It's a story that's in your face constantly, screaming its intent. At best, and this is being generous, one could say Faust is a highly theatrical production and a paper version of Grand Guignol.
Well, and this is where I feel like Spawn did a really good job of having nuances. I think Spawn does an incredible job of character development, and it's more akin to what I would say with like Berserk, where everything feels intentional. And this like what I was defending with Berserk is kind of the opposite of what's happening here. They're using the gratuity just to have the gratuity and to sell the comics, which is fine. I don't have an aversion to that. I think that if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But it seems like the point of this is just like, oh, check out all this cool shit and like titties, blood, decapitation. We have a story sort of. Here's some pretentious shit. Back to just me killing stuff, and I mean that doesn't really appeal to me. But it's still. I'm not saying it's not good. So far we haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty of the story and seeing it if it's actually interesting or not. But it seems like my first attempt at rationalizing the gore to maybe having a grander magnum opus type design as it does in Berserk, it was completely wrong. So I'm just correcting the record for you guys. I'm doing it.
It's operatic, where everything is heightened to a ridiculous degree of intensity. It's pretentious because it proclaims to be an examination of violence, sexuality, and the depths of depravity that humans are capable of achieving. But other than scenes of excessive brutality and intercourse, the story doesn't offer anything of value concerning this theme. Stating, humans can be pretty terrible, and look, here's a bunch of people being really gross, is not making any type of statement. It's an observation that lacks insight. It's reveling in the very thing one is examining while pretending there's a point being explored. But
well, that was the problem with the original The Boys. So if you ever look up the actual original Boys comic, it's just how I can't remember his name. The original creator of The Boys, he also worked on some of the Punisher comics. He worked on a lot of different things. He actually, when he wrote The Boys, he just hated superhero comics, and he said, how can I make all the superheroes douchebags? And it never gets anything more than that. It's just superheroes being douchebags for the sake of being douchebags, and it's kind of terribly written. Garth Ennis is his name. Garth Ennis was just kind of like, I'm gonna make everything disgusting and depraved. Oh, look at fucking not Omni-Man, that's Invincible. Look at fucking, I can't remember his name. Not Highlander. Homelander. Look at Homelander. Watch him put lasers through a baby's head. Oh yeah, look. Oh, he's so evil. Everything was just like evil to the nth degree, and everybody just sucked completely. Nobody was really interesting, and the story was kind of piss poor. And it was instead of being like an intelligent breakdown of superheroes in comics, like the show is kind of a parody of what Marvel has done and DC has done. The original comic was just like, look how much big of dickbags these dickbags are. Wow, dude, look, they're coming so hard on people, they're exploding, ha ha ha. And it just didn't have any real depth, and that's why the show, I watched up to through season 2, I think, maybe 3. Whatever one that had the guy from Supernatural, that was the last season I watched. And it just kind of, the show has more depth than the actual comic had, and I do appreciate when somebody else takes something that had like some appeal and was like, how do we actually make this interesting? Now, I might offend some of the Boys fans out there, but from what I've read and what I've seen on the Boys, I just can't stand that comic. It's so piss poorly written.
There isn't, which makes the material feel gratuitous. Layering on various elements, like numerous thematically relevant songs, doesn't give the material more depth if it doesn't feed into some larger statement or point of view. It's just a lot of noise that, again, gives the vague appearance of something deep. The ending in particular is drawn out, with them constantly monologuing about how pathetic humans are, how pathetic Jaspers is, how he dislikes being cast out of heaven, and on, and on, and on, and on. This is literally, not figuratively, the entire content of the final 4 issues. It's one fight between Jaspers and a demonic being created to replace him.
Bro, are we on a One Piece arc where they're just explaining everything? What was that? I really liked the fight, but it was like forever. It was at I think it was Big Mom was her name, or the giant pirate. She was one of the 4 generals, or the 4 emperors of the sea, and Big Mom or whatever, her son, the one that had like the mochi powers, that was drawn out for so long. And I think there's some really good content there, but dear God, does that go on for like 4,000 episodes. It just keeps going and going and going, and this kind of feels the same way.
Where M stands to the side and drones on incessantly. As an analogy, if you've paused to listen to a street preacher, someone who's obsessed with ranting about the end of the world, that's the equivalent of the final 4 issues of Faust. It's one long jumbled rant of gothic navel-gazing. It's repetitive and moderately incoherent, with large empty words and phrases that contain no meaning. Again, it's a lot of noise underneath some well-produced but graphically intense artwork.
I'm Greg.
And I mean, this happens in manga all the time too. And you'll watch something that is cool in terms of its violence and its artwork. Like, I've watched a few manga that have like awesome artwork, awesome battles. It's like super cool, and then everything gets drawn out, and I end up being like, oh, it was pretty good. It's nothing like wild, but at least it was like kind of had a little edge to it. It stood out because our art design wise, and I've enjoyed it. So I'm not saying, like, when I say that it's drawn out, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I like that fight with Luffy and the mochi guy, Katakuri. I like that fight with Katakuri. I think it's really, really fun fight, and it is drawn out, but I think that it has its point, and I'm sure that at the end of One Piece, it's going to be a battle that takes fucking 8,700 episodes. Like, every One Piece battle takes 8,700 episodes, and I think that I'll still end up liking it at the end, because there hasn't been anything from One Piece that I haven't liked. It's just, you look at this type of stuff from like a distance, and you're like, oh, well, everything needs to be Berserk, or everything needs to be just this grand magnum opus like Lord of the Rings, and it doesn't need to. Sometimes you just need a badass story with some cool violence, some cool sex, and the shit will be fun, and it doesn't have to be any deeper than that, and it'll have like deep moments, but other than that, it's like, for the most part, you're a very simplistic story that had some potential here and there, but I had fun with it, and as long as you're having fun, that's all that really matters.
One is compelled to compare Faust to contemporary works that went out of their way to explore similar graphic themes. Black Kiss was a giant middle finger to the emerging conversation regarding censorship through adult labels. Brat Pack had a similar amount of anger over the accepted level of exploitation inherent in the comic book industry. Both examples, from the same time period, had an actual point of view, and one could argue both were intentionally over the top and disturbing. If Faust is a reaction to anything substantial, it's not transparent. And considering it's not a comic involving subtlety, it's likely non-existent. Faust is what it is. The content is excessive and exaggerated on all levels. I don't think that's a hot take. If material of this nature is your thing, then Faust will certainly entertain you on some level. For everyone else, it will likely initially shock you, possibly disgust you, and then, if you manage to continue, it will become tedious. At least, that was your humble narrator's reaction. In the end, Faust is a notorious curiosity that exists on the fringe of comic publishing. It's not something to casually suggest to others. It's very niche, and it wouldn't appeal to anyone other than a very specific audience.
Oh, dude, this guy right here is so, here's why I would be interested, not in terms of, it seems kind of like a lame story. It seems kind of cringe, kind of like, fucking write-off. Just the artwork, though, I think alone is something to where I would be interested. And that's something you can watch something or read something that, for all other purposes, isn't that good in terms of, like, story or whatever. But the actual design keeps you going. The actual like artwork on each page, the insane factor of it, it's just such an appeal sometimes. It doesn't always have to be the grandest, most spectacle story, and even if it's kind of mid at times, if there's something that keeps you there, I'm not gonna like downplay it in a certain regard, because like right here, that guy's monster face is incredible. And I think maybe if this guy worked with another writer and brought this artwork to another, this type of style to another comic with a deeper background, it would have been way more interesting. It makes me think of the movie, I think it was called The Spirit. It was right off the tails of the Sin City movie. It was right off the tail of the Sin City movie, and I remember going to it because I liked Sin City, and I watched it, and I went with some family, and we watched it, and it was like, that movie kind of sucked, dog. I'm not gonna lie. Samuel L. Jackson was good in it, but the whole movie as itself was just kind of a piss poor attempt at what we'd already seen other movies do in the same regard, and I just remember not liking the movie The Spirit in any regard, because it didn't feel like it heightened the genre any. It just felt like it existed to exist, and that can be a problem. And I feel like this is kind of suffering from the same thing, where you can look at 87 examples of where like comic books like Spawn or some of these other ones he's brought up do more in terms of writing and quality, but this one was out there looking at all, this writer was out there looking at all this other stuff, and he's like, dude, I can do that. Let me draw some cool shit, and look how cool that is. I can do it cooler. And he just was focusing on the wrong aspects of the story, and it just didn't focus on the storytelling aspects, which can be a huge pitfall. And I think that happens a lot with almost any medium.
Thank you for watching. Thanks to all my fine supporters on
He's gonna
Patreon and YouTube. You're on.
Look at that. He thanks his supporters. There's gonna be a few things. I mean, this guy had a really detailed. This feels very classroom, not in a bad way. This feels like a college level presentation on the thing, and his editing is very, very to the point. It was good. It was to the point, but it's very I don't know, almost. I haven't seen a video like this where it was just like so formulaic, and I think that it's good in that regard. What I want to just kind of end on here is the fact that I do like that people are out here making videos like this on some of these underknown characters that I've never heard of, and it's when he says it's like a better version of Spawn, I thought there would be more Spawn comparisons in this on how this guy's like Spawn, and I don't think he quite hit that. It is just kind of a breakdown on the character, which is cool. I think that I don't really know much about the character and his story other than he was born by the devil, and he fights the devil at the end, and there's a lot of sex and violence in it. I don't feel like I got into any of the nuances, but from what he said, there isn't any nuances, and I think highlighting the artwork and why it exists as this niche thing that'll pop up every once in a while that people will want to talk about is mainly because it's interesting. The art's appealing enough to where you'd see it, click on it, and then you'd get into this like rabbit hole infatuation with something that has this incredible of art, only to find out that it's not that deep, bro. I mean, but Faust is exactly what Todd wanted to achieve as a serious storyteller, and that's kind of where I say the big difference is. Like, Faust seems like it was just like, oh, I have all these cool ideas, I'm gonna throw them on paper and I'm gonna do some cool shit. And Spawn was like, I have cool ideas, but I want to tell a brilliant story with it, and that's what I think Spawn did so well. Is it said that I see Todd McFarlane got sick of the formulaic storytelling and said, how do I make a brilliant story? How do I turn what I want to do into something that's grander and bigger? And I think he achieved that with Spawn. I mean, obviously he turned his little company into like a probably $1 billion company. It's easily multi-millions. I don't know. Todd McFarlane Toys is out there selling like everything. It's just like, I gotta love the BP said, batter and not bad. He knows what's up. I mean, it is like, this is a word version of Spawn, so it is a play on words. It's just that I went in with different intentions, but I think that this was interesting in the least. But that's all I got for you guys today. I think I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta go to work. So much love to you all, and I'll catch you on the